Good afternoon, Blockspeak audience. We are now heading towards the mid-20s of interviews that we have done since the start of lockdown. Obviously, as lockdown eases, bandwidth narrows, so we're getting on better and better guests, which will be exemplified by the gentleman I'm about to speak to. I've had a couple of weeks off, spent some time in the UK in the Sussex Downs, refreshed, ready for the next quarter. And to find out some amazing things for you guys to listen to, and hopefully you can share, download, and we'll all get rich and we'll be happy. So today we have Christoph de Spiegler, which I think means player in German. Spiegel is German in Dutch, I think. Spiegel? No, is that mirror? I can't remember.
It's a mirror.
Anyway, it's mirror, isn't it? Yes, I'm sorry.
It's actually a mirrored egg, but okay.
Mirror.
Egg.
Okay, all right. Anyway, Christoph, it's very good to meet you. You're the founder and the CEO of Threefold. Obviously, a lot has happened in the crypto world in the last couple of weeks since I've been trying to get away from it, not least the kind of Bitcoin surge through $12,000 and then back again. But we can talk about that later. Tell us a little bit about you and how you managed to get to this place in crypto. And before we speak about Threefold, it'd be nice to get a feel of how you came to be where you are now.
Thank you, Monty. First of all, thank you for inviting me, and hello, everyone. So my name is Christoph, and I always kind of start to say I'm a nerd engineer. That's how I got started when I was like 9, programming Commodore 64, a small little computer, and I found it a very nice place to be. Now, as we go, I got really interested in the internet. When I came out of university, the internet was starting. And it was this amazing place where everything was possible and everyone was connecting, and it was super free. And that kind of evolved to where we are today. So I've built a couple of startups, always around helping the internet to grow, more like storage and compute and automation and cloud, stuff like that. And we sold 6 companies over the years. And about 10 years ago, it was like, okay, what I'm going to do, create a new company or just do what I'm doing all my life, or maybe I have to use what I've learned and the connections I'm having and to basically do something which the world needs. And that's how we came where we are today. And I believe the world needs many things, but one of them is more digital awareness. The fact that this digital beautiful system, which has been created so many years ago now, got a little bit sidetracked, right? It's now coming from very few locations, but by very few companies. And we became a product on something which was meant to be very neutral. And I would like to use the time I'm still having in this life to basically try and change that and use the technology we have developed to create an internet which is owned by all of us for everyone. That's where I'm coming from.
Sounds like Linux is forefront of your mind when it comes to that type of thing. I think I agree with that. I was a tech journalist probably for about 10 years after being anti-tech and traveling the world and meeting people with hair like yours and having hair like yours many years ago, and traveling and didn't want anything to do with computers. I mean, when the Commodore 64 came out, I had the option of doing a computing course on a Wednesday afternoon at school or going ice skating. So I learned to ice skate. So my life could have been very, very different. But I think we've probably gone for I think probably similar in age as well. But I got into the internet 20 years ago and started to write for, IT weeklies. I didn't know what I was thinking about, but I also shared the same excitement that here was a platform that was better than TV. I still like the radio, I love books, but it seemed like a societal shift towards a positive. And I have to say that I am appalled at what's happened to the internet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I was at a meeting in London yesterday, and we were just talking about the mobile internet and how it's been invaded by advertising. And it's not even annoying. It's actually quite evil in the way that it does your head. So I'm with you in changing the world. It's a time that we've had the last 3 or 4 months to think about it. So what are you doing? How are you going to spend the rest of your life changing it? What is that to do with Threefold? Are you giving your money to charity, or are you digging a ditch? What are you doing?
Actually, both. So by doing what I'm doing with Threefold, there will also be money generated, which we want to use to do good projects. So in a way, it kind of goes hand in hand. But look, if we and I tell this to many people, if you look outside, it's like the first thing I ask people is like, look, do you work for yourself or you work for the planet? Because this to me is a really important question at this time. And I like to ask that anyone I meet. And it's good to see that many people actually are standing up and saying, yes, I want to work for the planet. And by working for the planet, eventually it will do good for yourself and your investors as well. But this is a fundamental choice what you go for. And it forces you to look forward and have a further horizon and then see, okay, in my own capabilities, what does that mean helping the planet? And if I look around today, I see a lot of things happening, a lot of talk. Okay, we're talking now, but I hope this leads to very concrete things. But in general, there are a lot of places where people come and they talk and whatever. But then you see, okay, what is now actually happening, right? And then you see there is a big mismatch. So what we're trying to do is, together with a lot of people, and of course not alone, it's like a movement where we put ourselves together and say, look, this internet we're building, we have a plan. This is not just a dream. We have the technology, we know how to do it, we're creating the partnerships. Let's together take back hold on what this internet is. Mm-hmm. And we have it. Why did no one hear about us? Because, well, maybe we were very bad in marketing, which is probably a fact too, but separate and aside from that, we have been spending a lot of time to create what we have, and we have a lot of capacity out there. So what did we do? Basically, I started about more than 10 years ago, and I called it IT as energy. Because IT is today a very complicated thing, right? You have to be an engineer to sort of grasp everything going on, and it's many layers and it's very complicated. And it's an industry who thrives on complexity. And I always really disliked that. It's like a painkiller. Rather than solving the problem, it's better to give you a painkiller so you have to buy the same painkiller the day after again, right? And that's what we didn't like. So when we started about 10 years ago, it was all about that. How can we make IT like a real commodity? IT as electricity. You just plug in, you get it, and you put everything on top.
Yeah.
When the blockchain thing started happening, what is it now, 5-6 years ago, when it really became popular, it was like, oh, wow, damn, that's like a new wave of disruption where all together we can now own something. Yeah. So, and that got me really excited, which was like, okay, how can we use what's happening with blockchain and the technology we have created so we can literally build an internet which is owned by all of us? Mm-hmm. Now, we are not a blockchain company. We're coming from a different area, maybe probably even a different source. It's more about storage and compute. And while I believe that blockchain is super exciting and it can do a lot of good things for humanity, it's not a Swiss Army knife. It's not this thing which is going to resolve everything in the world. It won't. Mm-hmm. It's a new technology with nice capabilities, and we need to use it in a bigger picture. And that's what we are doing. But then what I saw happening is that, okay, we now have the technology, we have a lot of capacity out there. Actually, today, we have more capacity out there than the sum of all the blockchain projects today, which sounds rather crazy.
No, okay.
And then what I got was, but I don't like the way how the blockchain world sometimes is going. It became a lot of hype by itself, right? And a lot of people trying to become rich very quickly. And I have nothing against that. I mean, if people are willing to take the risk and go somewhere, why not? But if that becomes the only purpose, then it's like, that can be the case. There is almost like a correlation between the complexity of the white paper and how much money there is.
Yeah.
And that can be.
No, I had a similar situation with the father of my teenage son. We were kind of on a boat, like just for the afternoon. It was quite fun. He's a doctor, doesn't understand crypto, doesn't understand crypto. All the facts, he just knew that I was in it quite early, so he's quite intrigued by how I'm getting on. I had a big crypto hack about 2 years ago. I lost $75,000, well now $75,000 of ether. So I got a bit scared. But he started the conversation saying, like, the crypto queen, this podcast. He said, I said, well, yeah, well, I'm not really sure about that. And he said, well, what do you mean, not sure about it? It's just because I said it's just propagating the idea of Bitcoin as being a scammer's universe. And I actually believe in it. I believe in decentralized finance and all the obvious things about banks taking money off you and peer-to-peer payments. And, as humans, we're pretty kind to each other. It's only when we've got a centralizer that fucks us up. You know what I mean? So I know exactly what you mean. But we need to kind of get the narrative back. And I also agree that the blockchain isn't a Swiss Army knife.
No.
In many respects, it's a blunt blade and isn't sharp at all. You know, if you want to use the metaphor. But you have me intrigued. Carry on. How are you going to do things, Ed? What are you doing? Let's get to the point.
Right. So the point is that we reinvented how IT works. Actually, we reinvented an operating system. You know, like Linux. You were referring to Linux. So we took the Linux kernel because that's not something you want to redo. But out of that, we had to reinvent everything. So how do you work with hardware and how do you use the hardware better, your computer? Because the Commodore 64, we now mentioned a couple of times, was a very capable machine. And it had only 64 kilobyte of memory. It was small, but still very capable.
Yeah.
And today, this notebook I'm now working on is 50,000 times more powerful. But did we get 50,000 times more? No. So somewhere we lost something. So what we did is basically, in a way, reinvent how can we use hardware better? And then we put some smart contract layer on top of it. Mm-hmm. Just like you have smart contracts for finance, right? We made like a smart contract layer for how to deploy an IT solution on top of that hardware. Right. So everyone can now say, as an example, I need a CRM system close to me, or I want a YouTube alternative or something, and I want to have it in Switzerland, whatever that is. They define what they want. It gets put in a sort of smart contract for IT.
Maybe so could you describe that as like software as a blockchain? Is that pushing it?
It's through that blockchain layer, you can define what you need, and it will come live on these boxes in the field.
Okay.
And what are these boxes in the field? So we're saying like we're trying to create an internet. No, we're not trying. We are creating an internet done by all of us. And how does that work? That's a little bit the Bitcoin model, because I love the Bitcoin model at the end. The original model, the fact that you have a box, you put it, and all these boxes together make up this new currency, right? But what I didn't like about it is that in the case of Bitcoin, then you're burning a lot of energy to just provide that security.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? It's not ecological.
Not yet, let's say. I hope at one point in time they resolve that too. But in our case, the box you buy, you just buy a piece of hardware, just a server or a computer. Can be $500 or $50,000. You download the operating system, our software, you put it on there, you boot it, and that's it. And now this box becomes a node in this new internet. And all these boxes together provide a new backbone, if you want, a new storage, compute, networking backbone for an internet which is owned by all of us. Yeah. And every person who keeps a box connected, if the box is connected long enough, you will receive tokens, and that's our own token. And if you want to sell your capacity of your box, it's a little bit like a solar panel on your roof. It's a very similar model.
Yeah.
And then I have like my solar panel on my roof, and it gives electricity to my street. In this case, I have my box in my home, and I provide IT capacity, storage, compute, networking to my neighbors and everyone around. And I get money.
So it's a bit like saying, if the UK government gives me some money to put solar panels on my house, or I have methods of creating energy within my house, the extra capacity that I create, it goes into the national grid and it's of benefit to others.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're doing.
That sounds pretty good, bro.
Then like what we had to do, and that's what others don't, is that we had to reinvent the hardware layer up. We're really low level, right? Yeah. Because it's like a solar panel. Can you imagine that people would tell you, oh, put the solar panel on your roof, but by the way, you have to be a solar panel expert because you need to know everything about it or you can't put it, right? People would say, yeah, no, thank you. But that's how IT is. Are you going to install 20 blockchain things on your computer and maintain them? No, that's too complicated.
You're simplifying IT via the blockchain.
Yes.
Sorry, I write for The Economist. The blockchain is only used in reference to Bitcoin. And blockchain without the is blockchain. I just said the blockchain. I made a mistake. Sorry about that. So it sounds so. There's a couple of questions that kind of spring to mind. This sounds all very humanist and wonderful, solving a problem that people probably do know that they have, and and anything. I mean, I'm just trying to think about the way that I'm trying to help. I'm getting very, very annoyed about my previous consumerism, and I wear clothes 1,000 times. CPW, cost per wear. This is a £300 shirt. I wore it to Buckingham Palace a few years ago, but I've worn it. It's like it's one of the. It's good value, if you know what I mean. So anything spare, I mean, I've got some IT kit there, I make sure that I use it correctly. I don't waste food, the books will never leave me. But there was a very good thing with air miles with Emirates. You know, last week I flew. I was invited to an event about a year and a half ago. It's like business class and all this shit. And I was never going to use these miles. And they said, oh, well, listen, if you want, you can donate these miles to the crisis in Lebanon after the explosion. And it's like 13,000 miles. It's probably like €1,000 or something like that, effectively. And it's like, well, I don't want to use them. I'm not likely to be flying anytime soon. And it took me about 20 seconds to go 250, yeah, bang, bang, bang. And that's great, right? And I shared it with all my mates and Facebook and all that. Anything, you know what I mean? But it's just that those type of things can catch a wave,
Yes.
you know. And because not only is it kind of spare, useless currency, but it's also, you know, it's easily done, which sounds bizarrely just what you're doing, right? You know, it's spare capacity and all that stuff. It sounds to me then, when it comes to tokens and Bitcoin, you're not really a trader. You sound like an anti-trader. You're anti-speculator. That's what I think.
True. I like the possibilities, right? The fact that we can together own a currency is brilliant, isn't it?
Yes.
And I think there will be many more of them. Actually, I'm working with a friend on a coffee token as an example, but why not have a coffee token or a gold token or so many more things?
Yeah.
So this is definitely the future I absolutely believe in. But today it's also a little bit dangerous. If you go into one of these exchanges and you don't know what you're doing, you can get hurt. Maybe you make a mistake and you lose a lot of money, and when the only purpose is, because it happens with fiat currency too, so it's a normal thing, but we need to have more things next to it. We shouldn't all have to be a trader to get into digital currencies.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I agree.
And that's what one of the things we're trying to do together with partners is that we say, look, why can't we sort of just have a little app and we go on the phone and we cannot make mistakes, right? And it's more something like I go to the ATM and I know exactly what I'm doing because it's so simple. Mm-hmm. And I don't need a complicated trading interface and so on, because guys like me, I'm probably the worst trader anyhow, because I get scared and then I sell and then at the end it doesn't work, right? So I believe in digital currencies, but there is still a big step. My mother needs to be able to use it and it needs to be very simple. And you need to be able to go from all of these currencies with ease. And then it becomes a real utility, which we can use in our near environment.
Yeah, I mean, when I kind of shied away from crypto when I was hacked from a wallet, you know, mm-hmm. I'm back in now. You know, I'm back into it, and you know, my fingers are burnt, but you know, but nothing had changed much in 18 months. You know, it was still really complicated to exchange, which wallet, which, you know, I mean, I am a bit stupid because I started off as an anti-technologist and now allegedly I know a little bit about it because I've done a podcast and I've written for some, you know, some good publications, but it still confuses me. And I don't think it's so much that you need your mother to learn about it. I bet your mother's an amazing person. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her and what she did earlier in her life. You know what I mean? We're just on the shoulders of the giants that came before us, I think Isaac Newton said. But I think it's more like, I mean, millennials get it, but it's more like people, you know, in their 30s, you know, people in their late 20s, people that maybe are thinking, you know, what should I do with this money that I've saved up in the last 10 years? What should I do with it? Whether they be in Africa or in South America or in London or in, where are you? You're in Vienna, I think, right?
Right now, yeah.
I think that's what needs to be done. And perhaps when institutions, which we're all seeing institutions moving in, when they start to make it easier, because they had the experience of the ATM and the very fast transactions online and all that stuff, I think maybe we'll see a massive, you know, adoption, I believe. So how would you describe threefold to the man on the street, or that person that I just spoke to you about, the late 20s, early 30s person, global citizen? How would you describe it?
Right. Well, there are two sides of it. Let's first start what the more technical person is, and there it's simple. It's like, look, if you have an application or you're building something, it needs to be hosted somewhere, right? It cannot be in the air. And that's what they call the cloud. Yeah. So you can do this in a centralized environment, right? You know the big names, it can go there. But what if there would be a decentralized environment where with as easy, you click on a couple of buttons and you can put it anywhere in the world and it's using capacity from all of us. So
that decentralized exchange.
almost like a decentralized exchange, but then for IT capacity. So you can say, look, because there's so much, the internet is growing so fast, and let's not forget that self-driving cars, AI, name it, it's growing faster than ever. Absolutely. And these data centers are huge polluters. They use a lot of energy. Yeah. And this is something we can help. So if all of us together build that new internet by putting this capacity, we have an alternative way how the technical people amongst ourselves can deploy their applications. What would be the consequence? It would be closer to us, faster. It would be much more green. We can, for certain workloads, save up to 10 times in energy, so that's a lot. Mm-hmm. It would be more private, more secure, in your country, sovereign, faster, name it. Lots of things, right? That's for the technical person. But we're also working on the next phase, which is that actually we want to resolve something else. We are a cyborg today. This is not my quote, it's from Elon Musk, but we are a cyborg. And what makes us a cyborg? It's this thing here, right? The phone. Because we can't live without it anymore, and all these apps on there, but is it handy today? WhatsApp, Telegram, it's so many things at the same time, and you have to remember, oh, that was WhatsApp, that was Telegram, that was, and why is that? So we need another way how we will deal with our digital life. Yeah, that's another thing we're working on, which is we're building together with colleagues, with partners, with the community. We're building an alternative layer on top of this, which could replace basically it gives you a digital avatar. So you exist digitally and you live on this threefold network, and you now exist and you have digitally, and you have all your data only linked to you, your data, your applications, your identity, but everything. Mm-hmm. And this really puts everything upside down, because this allows you to have full control of digital life again, because the normal end user doesn't care about the fridge at the site, which is delivering IT capacity, right? No, they want to see something in their daily life. They want to have an alternative to Facebook, or an alternative to whatever, where they feel more safe. And this is also something we're trying to do with colleagues, with the community, to give them the opportunity and the tools to build something like that on top of our network, which means that all of us in the future know that we cannot be abused as a product anymore. And
yeah,
that's,
I mean, you take that, you may as well, like heroin, put it in your arm. Right. I mean, that is effectively what people do. They walk around like that. I agree, but yeah, but I as a kind of, I'm not a Luddite. I'm not against technology, but you know, I find it quite easy to. I mean, the thing that changed my life is that I turned off notifications. You know, WhatsApp, turn it off. It's easy, just one. Yeah. You know what I mean? There are no notifications going to come up on that phone during our conversation, right? I turn it off all the time. The screen's fucking broken. I don't give a shit. Do you know what I mean? But I think we might be straying off topic, because we could probably talk all day about digital freedom and all that stuff. So threefold. Would you have set up this business if you were raising money from venture capitalists, or would you have set it up like that?
Yeah, because we do. We put it in two buckets. What we did is we have a foundation, which is basically,
This is the Threefold Foundation.
The Threefold Foundation, yeah, which is basically our vehicle in which we help the world to build this internet. And yeah, we get tokens, a certain percentage of tokens, and that should eventually bring enough cash into that foundation to do the work to do with code and development and promotion.
What's the URL for our audience?
Threefold.io.
Threefold, and that is everything. That's just the foundation and everything.
That's the foundation by itself, and that is basically the promotion vehicle behind telling the world about what they can do with this internet and how to get started. And how.
So the tokens, like I gave away my Emirates Air Miles to Lebanon. Can people use any of their own tokens to put into your foundation, their own altcoins or whatever?
Eventually, yes. We are working today with. It's and you will find it if you go to the website. There is a link to something we call the Conscious Internet Alliance, which is basically a group of people for exactly that purpose, where we work together to build this new internet. So this is one of the things. And then there are other partners, friends like DigiByte, Dash, and some others, which Thomas Chain and so on, who want to be part of this movement. That's the movement.
Yeah, that's separate, and that's your personal values encapsulated in a foundation. Absolutely. Let's talk about the other side.
And then we have the other part, which is the technology company. And you won't find that much about that yet, because the only thing it's doing right now is providing code and giving it to the foundation. But basically, we have a technology company, and that's what I used to do before, creating technology companies, software only, nothing to do with tokens. And that company is in Belgium, and it has about 60 people today. It's working on this for more than 10 years. And there we have investors, just like any other startup company,
Wow.
because there we have good partners too, people like HPE and others who want to use and leverage this technology, because this technology can be used for many use cases, right? For government, cities, name it, banks, whatever. And that's what we do in a technology company, and that's where we can work with whoever wants to be part of that. It's very different.
Do you know anything about Phoenix Rising?
No,
They're Dutch. PHX. I presume you're Dutch, right?
I'm Belgian, but it's very close.
Oh, you're Belgian. Shit. It's like calling me Scottish or Welsh. You know what I mean? Nothing wrong with the Scottish or the Welsh. It's a similar movement where they get the world's greatest thinkers and then take them somewhere weird. We did it in Amsterdam last time, and we went to an island, and you get put into separate weird caves, and you have the leading quantum physicist and the leading NASA scientist. It's amazing actually. And then everyone runs off in the evening and listens to techno and takes drugs. Not me, obviously. Never. Seriously. It would be nice maybe to put you in touch with those guys, because you seem to share similar values, and their foundation is amazing. It really, really is amazing. We can connect after this call. We're coming to the end. So let's go back a little bit into the Bitcoin world. You're not a trader. You're not really interested in the price of coins. Your tokens, are they available on all exchanges?
Yes, they are available. It's still limited liquidity because it's the beginning. We have a lot of capacity out there already. Like I said, it's much more than all the capacity of all the blockchain projects. But we just got launched, very recently, on 2 exchanges, Liquid and BTC Alpha. But over the next months, you will see many things happening. We're working on our own decentralized exchange, more exchanges. The liquidity needs to go up. So we're at the beginning of that path where people will see the value and start, hopefully, buying those tokens for it, because at the end it represents future capacity, right? It's the internet capacity. It's the token.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's just say the next 6 months. What are your landmarks ahead?
Well, we are in 20 countries today with our capacity, and we have quite a lot of storage and compute. But we want to be in 10,000 locations. That's number one priority.
Yeah.
Which is that this internet gets even much more decentralized than it today is. That's number one, right? And as a side thing is, yes, that the token gets more liquidity and more people see the value, and that way this project can grow and can keep on going everywhere in the world. So these are our 2 major milestones for the next.
Okay. Well, listen, I wish you well with them. Very interesting. I'm going to. I make a real a standard that I never try to find out too much about my guests. It's like if I meet someone for lunch, I never check them on LinkedIn and just let the conversation flow, which I think it has, which it has flowed. And it's actually been, it's good to meet someone that's got maybe similar values to me. I'm probably a bit darker than you, actually. You know what I mean? At the end of the day.
I have a dark T-shirt. You have the white one. So.
Well, that's just to reflect my darkness. We do ask everyone this question. I'm sorry to do it. I know you work for the planet, not for yourself. Bitcoin, any ideas of what's going to happen next few months? Do you give a shit?
Well, I do give a shit, because I hope it goes well, right? Because the thing I really want is that digital currencies do well. Now, what I can say is that I see a lot of very positive things happening. There seems to be a lot of positive momentum at this point, and also more people are questioning the reality of projects. So there seems to be some cleanup, and it happened. And so I'm positive, to say that at least. I'm very positive, because what else, right? It's not going to be fiat currencies, or it's not going to be, what else? So I think crypto could be well on its way back up and being the source of much more future value.
Yeah, and it'll probably bring a rising tide lifts all boats, is an English phrase.
I hope Bitcoin is the mother's token, isn't it? So if Bitcoin does well, automatically many more do. Absolutely.
Hey, Christoph, my Belgian, not Dutch friend, thank you very much for your time today. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed that. It's less bluster than we've had from previous guests, but slightly deeper, more profound, and dare I say, a more intellectual conversation that we usually have. Conversations that in this time of COVID I crave, and I think I've just had one, so I'm very happy. Christoph, goodbye to you. Good luck with your milestones over the next few months, and I wish you well. Thank you for being part of Blockspeak.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.